The request from Leo for a link was still hanging in the air when a piece of ice was roughly pushed between Caleb's lips. He let out a muffled gasp, the sudden cold stinging his mouth and making his eyes water. He tried to spit it out, but a large hand clamped over his mouth, holding it shut. He struggled, asking what Ethan was doing, his words lost behind the hand. Ethan's voice was cool and detached. He asked Caleb if he'd ever noticed how he tended to mumble. Coming from a small town in the Midwest, Caleb was painfully aware of his accent and how it set him apart at the sprawling state university. Even his required public speaking course had been a disaster, earning him a barely passing grade. He hadn't had many interactions with Ethan, the effortlessly cool communications major who ran the campus radio station. He couldn't understand why Ethan would suddenly bring this up. The ice cube was prodded and turned inside his mouth, an intensely chilling sensation that made him drool. Ethan watched him closely and asked if he knew why his pronunciation was off. Unable to speak, Caleb just shook his head, a pathetic mix of hissing and slurping as he tried to manage the melting ice and the saliva pooling in his mouth. Ethan's voice lowered, explaining that Caleb's tongue wasn't flexible enough. It needed training. When Ethan finally removed his hand, the ice cube, now much smaller, tumbled out. Though bewildered by the sudden intervention, Caleb instinctively grabbed a napkin from his desk and offered it to Ethan, mumbling an apology and telling him to wipe his fingers. Ethan didn't take it, instead tucking his hand into the sleeve of his hoodie. He said he'd wash it later. Across the room, Leo, sprawled on his bed, grew impatient. He pressed Caleb to choose a genre so he could send the video and get back to his own business. Caleb, being from a conservative background, had never really watched porn. It wasn't that he didn't want to. He just never knew where to look. Leo was a connoisseur, but Caleb had always turned down his offers. Lately, though, seeing couples all over the campus lawn had stirred something in him. He was in college, after all. It was time to figure things out. That's why he'd finally asked Leo for help, admitting he wanted to prepare for eventually dating someone. When Leo asked what kind he liked, Caleb was stumped. He hadn't thought that far ahead. After a moment of serious contemplation, rubbing his chin, he finally declared that he wanted to see something passionate. Ethan cut him off with a cold dismissal, turning to tell Caleb that Leo's collection wasn't suitable for him. Caleb asked why not. Before he could get an answer, Ethan's other hand, the dry one, rested on his lower back. The warmth of his breath ghosted past Caleb's ear as he leaned in close, making a shiver run down Caleb's spine. The reason, Ethan explained, was that if he truly wanted to date, he needed to work on his speech first, not watch porn. Leo, tired of waiting, simply put on his headphones, leaving them to their debate. Caleb's shoulders slumped. Ethan was right. His muddled speech was a huge insecurity. No girl would want to date a guy who sounded like he had a mouth full of marbles. His head drooped lower as he confessed that he didn't even know how to begin practicing. It was then that Ethan made an offer. He said he would teach him. Caleb's head shot up, his eyes wide with disbelief as he grabbed Ethan's arm. He asked if he was serious. Ethan was a legend in the communications department, with a voice that had earned him awards in debate tournaments and a legion of female admirers who were always asking for his secret. Having a professional like him as a tutor was an unbelievable stroke of luck. Ethan affirmed that he was serious. His gaze drifted to Caleb's throat, and he swallowed once before promising to teach him properly. The training would involve daily sessions with ice cubes just like the one he'd just had. Caleb questioned if that would really be effective. Ethan assured him that it was, explaining that it would improve tongue dexterity and enunciation. As Ethan walked towards the bathroom to wash his hand, Caleb's motivation soared. Everyone said Ethan was aloof and unapproachable, but he was turning out to be one of the kindest people he'd ever met. At that moment, Caleb couldn't possibly imagine that the words Ethan intended to teach him had nothing to do with public speaking. The next morning, Caleb was already standing by Ethan's bed, his mouth open in anticipation. Ethan's throat bobbed. He retrieved a fresh ice cube from the small mini-fridge he kept by his desk and reached out to place it in Caleb's mouth. Suddenly, a thought occurred to Caleb, and he pulled back, a slight frown on his face. He suggested that Ethan could just give him the ice cube and he could do it himself. Ethan's expression remained placid as he explained that he needed to apply pressure to Caleb's tongue. He reached forward again, but Caleb took another step back, his cheeks flushing as he quietly protested. Ethan's voice became as cold as the ice in his hand. He insisted. Caleb quickly tried to clarify his reluctance. He just didn't want Ethan to have to go through the trouble of washing his hands for so long afterward. The previous day, Ethan had spent nearly half an hour in the bathroom. Caleb suggested that if Ethan just showed him the right spot, he could find it himself with a little practice. Before he could finish his sentence, Ethan gently pried his mouth open and slipped the ice inside. The cube rolled and shifted against his tongue. He tilted his head back as Ethan instructed him to open wider. Just then, the door clicked open. Leo, back from his morning run with a bag of breakfast, froze in the doorway, his food dropping to the floor with a thud. His face was a mask of shock. He demanded to know what on earth they were doing. Caleb, his speech slurred by the ice, told Leo that Ethan was teaching him enunciation. Leo's eyes widened in disbelief. He questioned if Caleb was sure that's what it was. Caleb nodded, explaining that he wanted to retake his communications course and that Ethan, being a broadcasting major, knew professional vocal exercises. He claimed it was a standard drill for people in his field and looked to Ethan for confirmation. Ethan gave a quiet, affirmative hum. Convinced, Caleb went back to diligently rolling the ice with his tongue. Suddenly, Leo let out an excited whoop and rushed into the room, opening his own mouth wide towards Ethan. He asked Ethan to help him with his speech too, mentioning his own mediocre grade in the course. Ethan flatly refused. Leo was confused. He asked why Ethan would only help Caleb. Caleb, mouth still full, wondered the same thing. Was his speech really that much worse? Ethan's reply was measured and slow. He said it was because Caleb was paying him. He needed the money. That was true. Feeling awkward about getting free lessons, Caleb had offered to transfer money to Ethan for each session. Leo, eager to get in on the deal, whipped out his phone, offering to pay too. Ethan simply turned and walked back to the bathroom, stating that he didn't need Leo's money. After Ethan emerged from his lengthy hand-washing ritual, Caleb intercepted him, his brow furrowed. He asked why Ethan refused to help Leo. Ethan's reply was simple. He didn't care about Leo. So why, Caleb pressed, was he helping him? Before his mind could spin out another insecure theory, Ethan reached out and lightly touched his Adam's apple. He noted that Caleb had a long neck. Caleb asked what that had to do with anything. Ethan added that his throat was long too. Again, Caleb questioned the relevance. Ethan swallowed, then clarified that he meant Caleb had a lot of potential. The explanation left Caleb feeling dizzy. He brushed Ethan's hand away, still confused. Ethan elaborated that with his help, Caleb's enunciation could become incredibly clear. So it was a compliment. Caleb had been worried Ethan was just making fun of his country accent. Relieved, he grinned and linked his arm with Ethan's, leaning against him playfully. He told Ethan he had to promise to keep up the lessons. Their interactions had been minimal before, but now, determined to be a good student, Caleb started taking care of Ethan. He did his laundry, made his bed, and folded his clothes. Ethan seemed a little uncomfortable with the extra attention, asking Caleb why he was being so nice. Caleb explained that he didn't want Ethan to feel like he was the only one putting in effort. It was his way of ensuring Ethan would continue to teach him properly. Ethan's expression grew complicated. He started to say something about not feeling taken advantage of, but Caleb cut him off. He declared that on top of the money, he would provide some extra services. He grabbed the hem of Ethan's t-shirt and gave his waist a playful squeeze. Then he offered to help him take it off. Ethan's body went rigid, and he swallowed whatever he was about to say. His Adam's apple bobbed again, as if he were suppressing something. Then, a faint blush creeping up his neck, he raised his arms over his head. Caleb stood on his toes, rolling the shirt up and carefully pulling it off for him. That evening, Ethan's social media status was updated to, "May lightning spare those who take and take." When Caleb later asked him what the cryptic post meant, Ethan didn't answer. Instead, he walked over to Caleb, his face flushed and his eyes shining. He announced he was going to take a shower and then asked, his voice low, if Caleb could help him take his shirt off again. Just as Caleb reached up to oblige, the door swung open with a bang. Leo stood there, back from a run. He pointed an accusatory finger at Ethan, declaring him a liar. He had asked other communication majors, and none of them had ever heard of an ice cube training exercise. Caleb's hands froze. He looked at Ethan, asking if it was true. Ethan gritted his teeth, shooting an annoyed glance at Leo for meddling. He then turned back to Caleb and stammered that maybe different programs had different methods. He quickly pulled out his phone and searched for articles about training with stones in one's mouth, showing Caleb several results about how ancient orators used pebbles to cure stutters and improve clarity. Presented with this evidence, Caleb's doubts subsided. But he still had one question: why ice instead of stones for him? Ethan explained that stones were dangerous. Besides, he added, the inside of Caleb's mouth was very delicate. He wasn't wrong. After only a few days of practice, the roof of his mouth was raw. While Ethan gently applied some ointment, his expression was troubled, and he looked at Caleb with a strange intensity, murmuring that it was a problem if this was already too much. Caleb shook his head, trying to act tough. He told his teacher not to worry, that he would practice diligently. He was already picturing himself on a debate stage, captivating the audience with his articulate arguments. The reason his mouth was so raw was because he had become obsessed with practicing. To speed up his progress, he was constantly doing the exercises from the videos Ethan sent him and frequently asking for more ice cube sessions. He would pester Ethan in the dorm, and even when they were out. In the dorm, the ice came from Ethan's mini fridge. Outside, Ethan started carrying a thermos filled with ice just for him. Caleb's dedication was unwavering, until one afternoon in the campus cafeteria. Two girls sitting at the table next to them started whispering. One of them gasped, noting that the two of them were acting like a couple, and commented on how happily the cute one was sucking on his fingers. Caleb froze. He wasn't sucking on anyone's fingers. He was doing his vocal exercises. With the ice still in his mouth, he turned to correct them, his words coming out in a garbled mess. This only made the girls more excited. One squealed to her friend about the oral exercises he was doing. The other agreed, noting how his eyes were watering and the corners of his mouth were chapped, making him look adorable and vulnerable. Caleb's face burned with humiliation. Back in their room, he told Ethan that he had memorized the positions and movements now, so he could practice on his own from here on out. Ethan's expression hardened. He took an ice cube and advanced on Caleb, insisting he would still help. Caleb pushed him away, His face still beat red, and repeated that it was fine. He couldn't handle another public spectacle like that. He covered his mouth and backed away. Finally, Ethan relented with a clipped, expressionless fine. That night, Ethan left the dorm and didn't return until the early hours of the morning, smelling strongly of alcohol. Caleb tried to help him to a chair, but Ethan shoved him back onto his bed. His voice was harsh as he asked why Caleb wouldn't let him help anymore. Confused by the drunken question, Caleb honestly replied that he didn't need it. Ethan's breathing was heavy. He sneered, asking if that meant Caleb thought he had already perfected it. Caleb dazedly shook his head, trying to explain that he only meant he could practice by himself. Ethan let out a cold scoff, misinterpreting it as arrogance. As Caleb continued to shake his head, Ethan suddenly pinned it to the pillow. He pried Caleb's mouth open with one hand while his other went to the waistband of his own jeans. He declared that since the ice cube training was done, it was time to try something else. Caleb stared at him, a sense of dread creeping in. The drunken version of Ethan was unsettling, his eyes holding a dangerous glint. He managed to ask what they were going to try. Before he could get a verbal answer, Ethan crushed their mouths together. He was kissing him. Why was he kissing him? Caleb's breath hitched, his mind reeling. Ethan deepened the kiss, biting lightly at his lip before pulling back just enough to mock him. He sneered, asking how Caleb could claim to be all better when he was still so rigid. What did that even mean? He was testing him. This was a test of his training. His oxygen-deprived brain struggled to make sense of it as Ethan's grip on his head tightened. Ethan growled that he was about to show him what all better really looked like. The skill of a top-tier debater, it turned out, was formidable. The next morning, Caleb woke up with swollen lips. Ethan, however, seemed to have no memory of the event. He asked Caleb if he had changed his pajamas for him, explaining that he'd drunk too much and couldn't remember coming back. Hiding half his face under the covers, Caleb lied and said Ethan had changed them himself. The truth was, Ethan had passed out right after the kiss, and Caleb had tucked him in. Wanting to avoid any further discussion, he concealed the truth. Ethan's voice turned cold as he said, "Oh." He went to his mini-fridge, took out a piece of ice, and started to bring it towards Caleb's mouth. Caleb didn't crane his neck to accept it as he usually did. He burrowed deeper into his blankets, his voice muffled. He reminded Ethan that they had agreed the day before that he would practice on his own now. Ethan's hand froze mid-air. He stared blankly at Caleb for a few seconds, then told him to get dressed so they could get breakfast. They had fallen into a routine of eating and going to classes together to facilitate the training. But now that the lessons were over, it seemed pointless. And after what had happened, Caleb felt too awkward to face him. He told Ethan to go on without him, stating that since they weren't practicing anymore, there was no reason for them to eat together. Ethan didn't say anything. He just stared, his gaze so intense that Caleb felt a primal urge to retreat. He pulled the covers over his head like a turtle hiding in its shell. When he finally peeked out again, Ethan was gone. After they stopped eating together, their interactions dwindled. They were just roommates who happened to share a space. Or maybe even less than that. When Leo announced he had acquired some new videos and asked if they wanted to see, Caleb, feeling his speech had improved, decided he could now multitask his self-improvement. He eagerly told Leo to send them over. At that moment, Ethan, who had been engrossed in a video game for the better part of an hour without a single misstep, suddenly died. Seeing the gray screen of defeat, Caleb tried to be friendly. He asked Ethan if he wanted the videos too, suggesting Leo could just post them in their group chat. Ethan didn't respond. He simply slammed his laptop shut and climbed into his bunk. It wasn't just a bad mood from losing the game. Over the next few days, Caleb realized Ethan was deliberately ignoring him. He wouldn't acknowledge his greetings in the hallway. In the dorm, he refused to make eye contact. The message was clear. They weren't just not eating together anymore. Ethan was angry with him. Despite this, Caleb continued his practice diligently. He even bought his own mini fridge for a personal supply of ice. Whenever he practiced in the room, Ethan would pointedly turn his back. It was so obvious that even Leo noticed, asking why Ethan wasn't coaching him anymore. Caleb explained that he was training himself now. Leo sidled up to him conspiratorially, asking what his secret was for getting Ethan to agree to teach him in the first place. Caleb honestly didn't know, guessing it might have been because he also did Ethan's chores. During his solo training, he started working on tongue twisters. When Ethan had been his coach, he always said it was too early for them, focusing only on the ice exercises. Caleb found he could manage the simple ones, but there was one particular phrase that consistently tripped him up. After multiple failed attempts, he decided to swallow his pride and ask for help. He caught up with Ethan on the path back from the academic building, calling his name. He explained his trouble with the tongue twister and asked if Ethan could teach him. Ethan's voice was frigid. He reminded Caleb that he was supposed to be able to practice on his own. Caleb tried to explain that the physical exercises were one thing, but this was different. Before he could finish, they reached their dorm. Ethan pushed the door open, and they both froze. Leo was on Ethan's bunk, neatly making the bed. Upon seeing them, Leo announced that he had figured it out. It wasn't about the money. He told Ethan that since he wasn't teaching Caleb anymore, he could do his chores instead, in exchange for lessons. At that critical moment, Caleb got an urgent text from his club and had to leave. The entire meeting was torture. He was consumed with anxiety. Would Ethan agree to teach Leo? The offer of chores was on the table, and Ethan now had free time. Caleb pictured Ethan feeding an ice cube to Leo. Would he do it by hand? How far would their lessons go? The thought was unbearable. He fumbled for his phone and called Ethan. Ethan picked up almost immediately. Before Caleb could ask if he had agreed to Leo's proposal, he heard Leo's voice in the background asking, "And then what?" He was already teaching him. Caleb's heart sank. He quickly said he'd dialed the wrong number and hung up. He rushed back to the dorm as fast as he could. When he threw the door open, Leo was rubbing his jaw, groaning about how freezing it was. So it was true. Ethan had helped him. Caleb stood frozen in the doorway, picking at his fingernails, a sour feeling in his stomach. Ethan saw him and walked over, asking which tongue twister he'd been struggling with earlier. Caleb, glancing at Leo, who was still nursing his face, felt a surge of resentment. He averted his gaze, mumbled that he'd figured it out, and walked past Ethan without another word. That night he lay in bed, fuming. He was angry at himself for being angry. He was the one who had ended the lessons. Ethan was his roommate, same as Leo. He didn't belong to him. After a long internal pep talk, he decided to let it go and ask Ethan for help with the tongue twister in the morning. But when morning came, Ethan was gone. Had one ice cube session been enough for him and Leo to start going on morning runs together? Caleb's mind spiraled. What was next? Sharing clothes? Sharing everything? He later learned from Leo that Ethan had taken a few days off. He had started a small workshop off campus, offering private vocal coaching. A lot of underclassmen from their university had already signed up. The image Leo's words painted in Caleb's mind was horrifying. A line of freshmen, mouths open, waiting for Ethan to personally feed them ice cubes. The thought was more disturbing than he could have imagined. He asked Leo, his voice tight, if Ethan would be giving personal instruction. Leo answered without a moment's hesitation that of course he would. A profound sadness washed over Caleb. He replayed their last conversation in his head. He shouldn't have been so proud. He had angered Ethan, his teacher, by acting like he knew better. Ethan had been so patient with him, and he had been arrogant. That had to be why Ethan was so mad. And for some reason he couldn't quite articulate, the idea of Ethan helping anyone else felt deeply wrong. In the days Ethan was gone, Caleb was a wreck. He couldn't eat or sleep. He tripped over his own feet walking to class. He tried to clean his white sneakers and realized too late he'd grabbed the black polish. Leo asked if he was losing his mind. But every time Caleb thought about Ethan feeding ice to a line of strangers, his stomach churned. One night, long after Leo had finished his solo flight and was sound asleep, Caleb was still tossing and turning. He came to a conclusion. Ethan was disappointed in him for not taking his studies seriously. He had to show him he was still dedicated. He switched on his small desk lamp, took an ice cube from his fridge, and recorded a video. In the video, he held the ice in his mouth, diligently performing the rotations Ethan had taught him. The lamplight reflected off the moisture on his lips and fingers. The room was warm, and his cheeks were flushed, his breathing slightly labored. He sent the video to Ethan with a message. "Am I doing this right?" The reply was instantaneous. "I'm coming back. Now, wait for me." Caleb was surprised Ethan was still awake. But he wondered how he could get back at this hour. He texted back a reminder that it was 3 in the morning and the dorms were locked. A second later, a video call request from Ethan popped up on his screen. He immediately declined it, typing back, "What do you want to see?" "I'm in the shower." Ethan replied, "Just a glance." It was true. After recording the video, he had felt overheated and decided a cold shower might help him sleep. He had just stepped under the water when his phone buzzed. Another message from Ethan came through. "Just show your face. I won't look at anything else. I'll correct your form." He was still willing to help. Maybe he wasn't angry anymore. The thought that Ethan would go to such lengths, even in the middle of the night, filled Caleb with gratitude. He felt ashamed of his earlier behavior. He immediately accepted the next video call. His hair was dripping wet, water streaking down his face. He popped an ice cube into his mouth and began the exercises he had learned. Ethan's end of the call was completely dark, the only sounds being the rustle of fabric. He patiently corrected Caleb's form, his voice growing progressively hoarser. He told him to get closer, that he couldn't see clearly. He murmured encouragement. Then, from the darkness, came a sharp, muffled groan. The rustling stopped. There was silence. Caleb blinked, asking if he was doing it right. After a few seconds, Ethan's ragged breath came through the speaker. He managed to force out 3 broken words. "Very good." He must have been exhausted. Caleb felt a pang of guilt for bothering him so late. He thanked Ethan and said he was going to hang up. But Ethan spoke again, adding that while it was good, there was still room for advancement. Advancement? How? The next morning, as soon as Leo left for his run, Ethan arrived, looking like he hadn't slept at all. When Caleb opened the door, Ethan stepped inside, cupped his face, and kissed him. Caleb was stunned. He pulled back slightly and sniffed. Ethan hadn't been drinking, so why was he doing this? When he sniffed him again, Ethan's kiss became more forceful. Ethan pulled away, breathing hard. "That video you sent me last night." Caleb understood. This was the advancement. He was personally, or rather orally, demonstrating the next phase of the training. He was giving him a mouth-to-mouth lesson. That must have been what the first drunken kiss was about, too. A frustrated attempt to teach a stubborn student. Realizing the depth of Ethan's dedication, Caleb eagerly responded to the kiss. After a heated session, Ethan, his face flushed, asked if Caleb understood what he meant now. He was panting, clearly putting his all into the lesson. Caleb carefully replayed the kiss in his mind, determined to master this new technique for the sake of his debate skills. He nodded, his own lips swollen, and affirmed that he understood. With Ethan's approval, they began daily kissing practice. Ethan also finally started teaching him tongue twisters. The ice cube sessions continued as well, but now Ethan would watch him with an air of intense anticipation. When Caleb asked him what he was looking forward to, Ethan just smiled fondly and tapped his nose, saying, Caleb figured he must be excited about his final presentation for the public speaking course. On the day of the presentation, Ethan walked him to the lecture hall. His eyes were fixed on Caleb's throat with that same simmering look. He told him to go ace the presentation, adding that once it was over, they could finally. He trailed off, muttering something about not having to worry about damaging his voice anymore. Caleb didn't understand what he meant, but the exam was about to start, so he just nodded and hurried inside. Afterward, Ethan wasn't there to meet him. Instead, Caleb ran into Leo, who had also been there to redo his presentation. Leo nudged him, saying Ethan was probably busy at his workshop and suggesting they go thank him together. Just then, Ethan emerged from a nearby restroom. He corrected Leo, saying he wasn't busy. He'd just been waiting for Caleb. Ethan led him away, but Caleb felt a little down. Ethan asked if the presentation hadn't gone well. Caleb shook his head, explaining that wasn't it. He quietly admitted that while he knew Ethan needed to make money with his workshop, he wished Ethan wouldn't personally feed the ice cubes to his other students. The thought bothered him. Ethan chuckled. As if, he said, putting a steadying hand on Caleb's shoulder. I would never feed them ice cubes. That made sense. There were too many students for one person to handle. Caleb's mood brightened instantly. He told Ethan he felt great about the presentation, much better than last time. To celebrate, Ethan took him to a pizza place off campus. When Caleb asked what they'd do if it got too late to go back to the dorm, Ethan's hand found his waist. He leaned in and whispered that, obviously, they would stay out. Grabbing a slice of pizza, Caleb excitedly agreed. Ethan squeezed his waist gently and murmured for him to keep his voice down, promising he'd have plenty of chances to be loud later. Caleb didn't get the joke but laughed along anyway. He declared that he was finally done with ice cubes for good. The look in Ethan's eyes darkened, but he just smiled. He seemed so genuinely happy, and Caleb was touched that his success meant so much to him. What he didn't understand was why Ethan had booked a room with a king-sized bed. Standing at the hotel check-in desk, Caleb was completely baffled. He'd never shared a king bed with another guy before. Back home, when he and his friends went on trips, they always got rooms with two twins. He couldn't imagine how two guys could sleep in one bed without their legs getting tangled up. But Ethan seemed perfectly at ease, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Caleb figured it must be a city thing. Not wanting to seem like a hick, he silently handed over his ID, adding for good measure, good call. A king bed is definitely what we needed. The moment they were inside the room, Ethan started unbuckling his belt. Caleb chuckled awkwardly, remarking on how comfortable Ethan was. He'd expected him to at least use the bathroom to change. But instead of changing, Ethan pushed him onto the bed. Still smiling foolishly, Caleb felt Ethan's hands go to his own belt. You're about to see how comfortable I can be, Ethan murmured. Caleb's smile vanished. What do you mean? He stammered, scrambling away and clutching the back of his pants. Ethan looked at him, genuinely confused. Exactly what it sounds like. Baby. Baby? What are you going to do to me? Ethan leaned close to his ear and whispered two graphic, undeniable words. The blood rushed to Caleb's face. He refused. He couldn't believe Ethan would suggest such a thing. Ethan, in turn, was just as shocked. He demanded to know why not. The question was absurd. They weren't a couple. How could they do that? Ethan's bewilderment only grew. He asked what exactly Caleb thought they were after kissing every single day. The answer was obvious. Ethan was his mentor, helping him practice, teaching him tongue placement and lip shape, correcting his pronunciation. He was his teacher. A look of utter defeat crossed Ethan's face. He got up, got dressed, and walked out, his last words dripping with bitter irony. Right? Teacher and student. Ethan went back to ignoring him. Caleb's grade came in for his presentation, and it was excellent. He wanted to share the good news with Ethan but didn't know how. He was still trying to work up the nerve when he heard Leo excitedly telling Ethan about his own improved score. A pang of jealousy hit him, remembering that Ethan had also tutored Leo. After Leo left, Caleb climbed down from his bunk. He called out to Ethan, who was on his way to class. Ethan paused. Caleb managed a quiet thank you. Don't mention it, Ethan said coldly. Caleb continued, fidgeting with his hands, telling Ethan he was a really good teacher. When Ethan didn't respond and started to leave again, Caleb impulsively grabbed his arm. He finally asked the question that had been bugging him for weeks. Did you give Leo the ice cube training? Ethan turned to face him fully. Why do you care if I fed ice to Leo? Caleb didn't know why. Curiosity, he mumbled, his grip on Ethan's arm still tight. He had to know. Did Ethan really do it? Leo had complained about his mouth being cold, but he needed to hear it from Ethan himself. Ethan's brow furrowed, his eyes looking pained. Caleb, I like you. I thought you knew that after the hotel. After all the kissing, I thought you understood. Caleb's lips parted. He mumbled that he thought it was just part of the lessons, a hands-on, or rather mouth-on demonstration. I like you, Ethan repeated, the words making Caleb's ears burn. Guys didn't confess to other guys where he came from. The city was a wild place. Ethan pressed him. I'm asking you again. Is it just curiosity? Caleb looked down, whispering that it was. Ethan turned and left. But Caleb couldn't shake the feeling. Was it really just curiosity? Or something else? He couldn't possibly like a guy. It had to be a weird side effect of city life. That night, he returned to the dorm to find Leo making Ethan's bed again. Caleb frowned, asking him why he was always doing Ethan's chores instead of watching his videos. Leo, snapping the sheet neatly into place, explained that he was competing in a debate tournament. Ethan's coaching had helped him so much last time that he was hoping Ethan would help him again, maybe even teach him his secret techniques. Just then, Ethan walked in. Leo immediately jumped off the bed and pulled him out of the room, saying he needed his help with something. The door slammed shut, leaving Caleb alone. He stared at the neatly made bed, then at the closed door. Secret techniques? What did that mean? Would it be mouth-to-mouth like with him? Would Ethan start to like Leo the same way? Would they go from ice cubes to kissing to a hotel room? Would Ethan whisper those two words to Leo? Maybe they were already out there in the hallway, kissing. Why else would they need privacy? In the middle of brushing his teeth, foam covering his mouth, Caleb didn't even bother to put on pants. He wrenched the door open and burst into the hall. "No, you can't teach him." Leo, who had been trying to bribe Ethan with his meal plan card, stared at him, dumbfounded. "Why not?" Caleb ignored him and latched onto Ethan's sleeve. "Don't go with him." Ethan pulled Caleb away by the loose waistband of his boxers, dragging him around the corner and pinning him against the wall. "Why not?" he repeated. Caleb's heart was hammering against his ribs. "Because I don't want you to kiss Leo." "And why would I kiss him?" Ethan asked, his body pressing closer. Caleb's skin felt hot. "To teach him," he whispered. A small smile played on Ethan's lips. "And why don't you want that?" He gently wiped a fleck of toothpaste from the corner of Caleb's mouth with his thumb. "You're giving me ideas, he said, his gaze intense. "Why don't you want it? Is it curiosity again? Or something else? Tell me or I'm leaving." As Ethan made a move to turn, Caleb grabbed his arm, his grip desperate. "I'm jealous," he blurted out, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I'm jealous of you and him. I was jealous when you gave him ice. If you kiss him, I can't take it. I really can't." Tears welled in his eyes, his face burning with shame. He didn't understand what was happening to him. He felt like he'd become one of these city guys, the kind who could fall for another guy. "Please don't kiss him," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Don't feed him ice cubes either. Feed me. Feed me instead. Okay? I'll be good." He shook Ethan's arm, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "You said it yourself. I have potential." Ethan wiped the tears from Caleb's cheeks and framed his face with his hands. "You idiot," he said softly. "I never fed Leo any ice." Caleb didn't believe him, citing the time he'd seen Leo complaining about his mouth being frozen. "He ate 5 ice cream bars in a row and got a brain freeze," Ethan explained, shaking his head. "I only ever taught him theory." He stroked the back of Caleb's neck. "Caleb, did you really think the ice cubes were for your pronunciation?" What do you mean?" Ethan leaned in, his lips brushing against Caleb's ear. "You just said you have potential," he murmured. "What kind of potential?" Caleb felt like a kettle about to whistle. He could barely breathe. In a small voice, he asked, "Can we stay out tonight? I'll show you my potential." Ethan laughed, a low, throaty sound. "Of course." And that night, Caleb finally truly understood. The words Ethan had been teaching him to enunciate had nothing to do with speech at all. The lessons had been seeping into him all along. He was a very, very good student. His neck really was quite long.